Hey all, here at OS Reviews. Today we're taking a quick look at the Cwowdefu Tablet 10. This is a low-cost Android tablet that sells for only $80 when on sale, so very cheap, and it also represents what you can expect to find on an entry-level model these days. Has a 10.1-inch IPS LCD display at HD resolution, comes with a few goodies including a protective hard-carrying case and even a passive stylus. It comes with 3 GB of RAM along with 32 gigs of built-in storage, running on Android 11 Go Edition, which takes up slightly less space, although you do have access to the regular Google Play Store for downloading other content. There's also a built-in stereo speaker, Bluetooth, and perhaps more impressively, Wi-Fi 6 in addition to dual band are also baked in. So it has pretty good connectivity, but there's no cellular, of course, on such a low-cost model. Coupled with a 6,000 milliamp hour capacity battery, which was rated to last around 6 to 9 hours of mixed usage, and has a 5 megapixel rear-facing camera. These are all decent specs aside from the processor, which is definitely on the lower end side of the spectrum. It is using a MediaTek quad-core CPU clocked at 1.6 GHz, even though the majority of devices these days have moved on to octa-core. So in the box, as aforementioned, there is the tablet itself that we'll take a closer look at in a moment. There is a pre-applied screen protector. You also get the included carrying pouch, standard USB Type-C cable, as well as a wall adapter. You also get access to a second screen protector, so if the first one wears down, you can replace it. The case itself is really not bad for this low price, and it does have this folio kind of microfiber internal. The back here is kind of a soft touch rubber-like material. It fits the tablet pretty snugly, and otherwise you can see that the profile also remains quite light and slim, although one complaint would be the lid is not really magnetic, so if you are putting it upside down, it tends to flap open a little bit, and unlike a Surface or a Apple smart cover, it doesn't automatically lock the screen whenever you close it down, and also acts as a mini kickstand just by folding it backwards like so, and you're able to pop the tablet up at an angle, which generally works okay, although it's not quite as stable as on more expensive solutions that have a tighter magnet. So if it gets a little bit more loose, you can see that it will topple over a little bit more easily than desired. But nonetheless, again, as a quick case, it works well enough and gets the job done. Design of the tablet isn't anything to really write home about, although the bezel sizes are respectably slim, I'd say, for a low-cost unit like this. It still looks relatively clean and modern for what it is. The frame, though, is constructed out of a polycarbonate plastic. The side here features the 3.5mm headphone jack, always nice to find, and the top houses the power key along with the volume rocker. And then on the other side, we have access to a USB Type-C port for charging and data. Underneath this flap, you have a micro SD card slot for further expanding the 32 gigs of built-in storage. Last but not least, on the bottom here, we do have the aforementioned stereo speakers. The back, though, is extremely simple and just houses that 5 megapixel camera with an LED flash, along with the simple 2 megapixel front-facing camera there on the front for video conferencing. Moving into the software side of things, we do have access to a pretty stock version of Android 11 Go Edition pre-installed, including all of the standard Google apps from YouTube, Photos, Gmail to the regular Play Store that you're able to leverage for downloading additional content. And it generally works well enough, although as you start interacting with the tablet, you can notice that animation will seem just a touch more choppy compared to more powerful tablets that we have seen, although again, for just $80, you can't expect too much, and it still gets the job done. We have access to the typical Google newsfeed here on the left. In terms of the screen that we are looking at here, I'd say it's alright. Perhaps the only con is because it is a low-cost tablet, it's not a fully laminated display, and as a result there is a slight gap between the glass on top and the LCD underneath, as you can see there, which does produce a little bit more glare if you are looking at it in really bright environments. It seems to be acceptable, although I would like to ideally have it just a touch brighter, but nonetheless does the job, and as an IPS LCD screen, at the very least, viewing angles are actually quite good compared to TN panels that we used to see on ultra-budget tablets of yesteryear. Now you can also long hold here to take a look at some of the wallpapers that this tablet comes with. There are quite a few kind of nature-inspired wallpapers that are kind of relaxing in a way. It also shows off that the colors on the screen at least are not bad, pretty accurate looking. You will be able to notice more hints of pixelation if you are squinting closely, but overall I would say it's still serviceable. Jumping into a quick playback of YouTube, and let's hear what the speakers sound like next. Alright, so some takeaways would be the speaker quality is actually really not shabby for such a low-cost tablet. Surprisingly, it gets quite loud. It is missing a little bit of depth in terms of bass, but that's expected on a cell phone or a tablet at the end of the day. So overall, I'd say it gets the job done if you're watching just some quick clips on YouTube or Netflix, and it's enjoyable enough with a bit of stereo separation. Reception quality, thanks to Wi-Fi 6, is really doing a decent job, especially with this plastic chassis. So at the very least, pretty easy to get a strong connectivity around 3 to 4 bars, and buffering parts of the video don't seem too slow either. Plus, since the screen is really HD resolution, you don't have to go beyond 720p for you to get the best video effect. The 3GB of RAM also seems to be doing an alright job when it comes to juggling a couple of programs in the background, but as you start getting past, I would say 5 tabs or 5 different applications, it becomes increasingly more sluggish. But you can tell that loading speeds will still be a little bit slower than on more expensive devices, as expected, since the quad-core processor here is definitely not the strongest performer, but still doing okay enough when it comes to just casual web browsing, even on more complex pages like this, although you do have to wait a little bit longer for some of the content, including ads and videos, to fully load. Cameras, though, are barely getting by, but at least it is an autofocus lens for the rear-facing cameras, but don't expect the sharpest shots in terms of detail just because of the lower resolution, and same thing goes with the front-facing camera just because of a more narrow field of view, along with just not the highest resolution. You're not going to get the best effect if you are into taking selfies, but just for some simple Skype or video chatting, it will still suffice. The UI, though, has a few more extras than I was expecting, including various colors that will change into black and white, vintage, sunset, and also some playful filters as well can be found. There's even a beauty mode built in, which allows you to smoothen out any skin imperfections. Video can also be captured up to Full HD 1080p resolution. With some decent lighting, it still looks alright, but since everything is blown up on a larger display, 5 megapixels is going to seem just not quite as clear as on a smaller screen phone, for example. The most important thing is just being legible enough for making out text details. So again, everything is just maybe a touch slower compared to if you're used to faster devices, more powerful phones and processors these days, but again, everything still works. You just have to give it a little bit more patience for things to load, as you can see there, but still a pretty up-to-date UI experience that we have optimized for a pretty large display. You have around 23.5 gigs left after the OS is installed, but again, you can further supplement that by a micro SD card, and in terms of additional settings, it is very basic. When you're holding the tablet, the left-hand side of it does get slightly warm after you're pressing it for, let's say, more than 30 minutes. I wouldn't say it gets too hot per se, but definitely gets a little bit more warm there on the edge, but it is what it is. Here's a quick demo of some additional applications. Reading back maybe something like a quick webtoon or PDF document, it can still handle alright. Same thing goes with checking out your emails, but anything more demanding in terms of graphics definitely will struggle on an older chip like this. As you can tell, in terms of the 3D graphics, definitely seem a little bit more sluggish, not quite as precise and always fluid as on more powerful chips. So if you're trying to game and get more AAA style titles like Asphalt or PUBG, it's not going to fare very well on this tablet. You have to keep things pretty lightweight, so simple games like Stack, Crossy Road will run and work generally alright on here. Again, don't expect miracles, and it's far from the best, most powerful tablet that we've seen, but kind of gives you an idea of what you can expect as far as an ultra-budget device is concerned here in 2023. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the Cwowdefu Tablet 10.